Jay here for Scotty and Motty. So that means that you're Scotty, even though that doesn't even make any sense because I didn't say I was Motty.
I was ready then. I was going to introduce us. I thought like this will be my week, and straight away.
No.
Should we start again?
No,
I'm David. David.
David. See, that's why you don't need an intro. I'm David.
You know why I did it? Because I hate being called Dave. Like, and for some reason it was referred.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds like. Sorry,
I never
any
really
Dave.
call you
No, you always
Dave.
call me Scotty. Like Scotty's sound the man, but
It's
Dave
like
is
that
like
Howson, because Howson isn't Steve. He's Steve, Stephen. So he hates Steve.
right. Okay. Yeah.
Like he doesn't. That's not his
Well,
name.
Steve and Dave, I always mean like they work down the mechanics once more. Like I'm not mocking anyone called Dave or Steve that works down the mechanics. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They say that the name Gary's gone, don't they? That's gone now. No one's called Gary anymore.
Really, that's dead.
Yeah, that's it. Got James Young on producer deck.
He always says that.
He does, doesn't he? He's
like,
always proud of Gas Drink Water's always on about it, saying that he's the last Gary. You ever seen Children of Men?
Yes.
Like Baby Diego.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like he's the last.
I quite enjoyed that film.
That's a mint film, that innit?
Went under the radar. I think.
Didn't it? It wasn't like a big hit, but it was good. Have you seen that?
Clive Owen.
Youngie, good lad, yeah.
Which one?
Children of Men.
No, not seen that.
Check that out. It's a good one, that. You'll like it.
What's it about?
It's about in the future, and everyone stops having babies. They're running out of people. No one's having babies anymore, and they don't know why.
Yeah.
And then this woman gets pregnant, and this guy's got to sort of protect her from these warring factions that want to use her for their own nefarious means.
I love that word, nefarious.
Nefarious, yeah. It's
good word.
Sounds like a conversation I had at a rave on Monday night.
You had a nefarious conversation at a rave.
You had a rave?
Sounds like
You was at a rave? On a Monday night raving, you?
Yeah. I went to this...
How the other half live?
When's a rave and not a party?
1997.
I said, does people still go to raves now
I don't
outside
know.
of James?
My mates were at a rave the other night. My age, the Stu Allen one.
Oh,
The
right.
bowlers.
Yeah,
I saw pictures of it. I was like, bloody hell. Sorry, go on, James.
No, but I think a party is different because like a rave
Sounding mank then. Say party.
Bit by bit, we're getting that Welsh accent out
He's
of him.
getting there. He lives in Salford. I was going to give the game away there. He lives in
Don't
Salford.
fucking say that.
Right, he's hanging around with Mancunians. He's getting there. Sorry, go on. You went to a party
I went to a party.
with the Gallaghers.
Yeah, I know it was an Adidas event, but you could apply for tickets. But there was a big like rave on before this band were on. I think it's more a rave than a party if there's more than fucking stop laughing.
Why did you say party like that then? It's like you forced yourself to say it in a different way. You went, it's more rave than a party. Like you were making a point of like, I'm not going to say party.
Yeah.
Hey.
But yeah, there was I think it's just more than like 100 people there. Then it's a rave.
Remind me, James, who's that Ghanaian midfielder that plays for Arsenal?
Party.
Anyway, what are we talking about tonight, Jay?
Well, let's get to it, right? Because me and you bang on about them every fucking week because they do our heads in. Almost every week. The Glazers are now, they're going, aren't they? They're off. Which is a bit of a turn up for the Bucks because there's always been this sort of inkling that maybe that we're looking at the end game now with the way that finances are going, the fact that there's so much money that needs to be spent on United on the ground, still on the team, even though we've spent so we need more spending on it. The training ground, it can't be ignored that any longer. So you need this investment. Then you look at Chelsea and they had 200 offers, I think it was, when they were up for sale in the summer, so that there's people out there that can buy your club. And then maybe that element of the Glazers thinking, well, we're missing a trick here if we don't act soon. And I think it's always come down to this point for the Glazers of when would be the optimum time where they will make more money by selling than by keeping and taking those dividends.
Yeah.
So now it looks like we've got to that point because I don't think it's for any other reason than that. They've announced that the club's up for sale. There's already lots of rumours about who's going to take over or who could buy Manchester United, which we'll get to in a minute. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, Scotty. When you heard the news that the Glazers were selling, where were you and what did you think? It's like a JFK moment.
I was, it's true though. This is like, it was a seminal day in the history of Manchester United, especially in my lifetime. I can't remember a sort of lifetime where a news story that broke.
Like a breaking.
Like broke. So I was in Media City just about to do my radio show, and I looked out and I could see Old Trafford and those fireworks going off over Old Trafford when the news was honestly about 15-20 minutes after, there was fireworks going off over.
What time was this? What time was it?
So my show starts at 10. So just about 9:30,
right,
running up to about 10 o'clock, there was fireworks going off.
That's meant that. I love that.
Yeah. So I mean, and that pretty much represented how I felt, really. I think I went on air and said it feels like Christmas.
So you had that just before the news broke?
I actually read that. I broke the statement on BBC Radio Manchester when I read it all. Well, I didn't read all of it. I read the first 4 paragraphs. It's quite long.
Because the actual official announcement was then.
Yeah.
Because I remember we went live on Paddock, because I'd done a shift at the Beeb from 6 till 7.
We crossed each other, I think.
Yeah, I think we just missed each other. I came out, my phone was going berserk, and I just thought it's the Ronaldo stuff. So I was sort of, because I had some misses, I was sort of ignoring my phone almost, because I just thought it's just loads of messages about, the Ronaldo thing. And then I started looking as I got on the tram and realised the Glazers stuff had happened. Got home, did a live, and then we had the announcement, didn't we? So it was like, right, this is really happening. And I was like you, I was happy, because we waited for this day for a long, long time. But now, I think, almost immediately, the caution kicks in, and I'm like, how's this going to look? Not that I don't want rid of the Glazers, but who's coming in? When is it happening? Is it going to be, the sort of the improvement that we hope? Because you think any owner's better than Glazers, but then there's some that morally and perhaps...
Yeah, I mean, there's different methods in this. I mean, ways of looking at it. Morally is probably the one we should be erring on the side of caution for, because I don't think anybody coming in with any sort of financial pursuit of making money off the back of Manchester United, the Glazers have already pretty much sucked the cash cow dry.
Yeah.
As you said, they're going to need a hell of a lot more investment into Carrington, into the stadium, into the team to build it back up, and they're going to have to spend £6 billion to buy the club. Like it's got to be a long-term investment to try and make any money off the top of it, and I think that's why it does make people nervous about who's going to come in and buy Manchester United. But it's fantastic day. I know we should be nervous, but I'm just embracing it. All we have is now.
No, right? You make a good point.
So I'm enjoying. 17 years I've been waiting for this, Jay.
Yeah,
until whoever comes, I worry about that as and when. It's something that's out of my control. I can control how I feel about the Glazers wanting to leave. I'm going to party. Or rave, even.
Party, as James says after he said party. Go on, Youngie, how did you react to the news? Where were you?
I was at home in my flat, and Gaz messaged me. I don't know why he's getting so many mentions on this podcast, but...
Yeah, we need to stop that.
He dropped me a message saying... He just sent me the screenshot of it, and again, I was a bit sceptical at first, again, because it was like, well, I don't know who it is that's going to take it over. There's been rumours before about whether the Glazers are going to sell up, but I think what's more important is the people that actually protested the Glazers for however many years, and some are now facing prison sentences. I think those are the people that we need to be talking about more, that stood up for it.
Yeah, is this the guys in the prison sentences? Is this the pitch invaders from you?
Have they actually got prison sentences? I know they got 3-year bans, didn't they?
Yeah, I didn't know where we were up to with that court case. Is that still going through then? Is that still ongoing?
Going through,
yeah, because I saw something on Twitter about... I can't remember, it was a little while ago now, about, we need to give him backing and support, because I think a prison sentence for pitch invasion is, when the game's not on, is ridiculous.
Well, they'll be breaking and entering more. It won't be pitch invasion.
Sorry,
so I imagine it is a criminal. It is criminal.
I get it's criminal, but a custodial, fuck off.
Yeah.
Come on.
If someone broke into your house and started dancing in your front room, would you want them to just get community service for it?
I'd film him. That could be. That could be my daughter's next TikTok. That save me having to dance around the living room when she's on one.
Yeah, but if it was your house, the GMP wouldn't do anything, would they? But because they had their pants pulled down, that's the only reason why they cared about it.
You're such a cynic for a young man.
I tend to agree with him. I think that there was that example of this flagrant lawlessness,
but that
annoyed them.
Do you remember when the riots kicked off in Manchester and the sentences that they were handing out?
I was covering that. Yeah. I was at Q&A 3, and there was a woman who, I think she'd received some jeans, right? 4 pairs of jeans from the riots. So they had her for handling stolen goods and gave her 4 years. It was like a year for every pair of jeans.
Fucking glad they didn't catch me then.
Yeah. And there was a guy with a telly who got 5 years. And what happened was they dished out all these sentences, like they were
draconian, weren't they?
Yeah, like they were dealing with the craze or something. And then, on appeal, people were going from 5 years to 6 months, time served, released. It was just ridiculous.
Because there was people who was mentioned on Facebook saying, let's meet up and do something that never did. Let's meet at a car park, and they were getting
jailed
because they were a conspiracy to incite violence and stuff. I remember there was we're in their local pub in Levenshulme Farm, back to the farmers.
Yes,
and we were
all
just sat there.
roads
So
lead to
I wasn't.
farmers.
Obviously, I wasn't involved in any of the rioting.
Bollocks.
But I really wasn't. But there was a few people that were locals that had gone down. And then came back with a load of like Valentino jeans and like Gucci, whatever, so really high-end gear.
Yeah.
And obviously they got sold all around the pub.
Yeah.
And then some random guy walked in and said, I've just been down like the riots in town, do you want to buy some gear? I'm not joking, he brought out a big fucking bag of basmati rice. He's literally come back out of everything you could buy. He's literally come back, proud as punch, on the 192 with a sack of rice to sell at the pub like it was some fucking...
Rice?
Rice?
That's the worst thing you can nick. Because it weighs a lot.
I know.
And it's not worth a lot.
I shit you not.
Like,
he got
that is literally the worst thing to nick. Rice, because it's like £2 for a big bag. So what, you're selling it for 50p or whatever, and you've got to carry loads of it, it's well ever. Mate, that's ridiculous. That's like, I don't know, that's like robbing a bookies and nicking the pens.
It
Like,
really
that's
was.
just stupid.
And he goes, the police had covered all the other shops, so that was all that was left was the corner shop.
The corner shop, so I got some rice. I remember covering them riots. And,
That's just up the road from me now, where it happened in Salford.
I thought, right, I was in, because basically we had one car, I was working at Q103, and we had one car that was unmarked, that didn't have any like branding on, and they were attacking news cars, the rioters and stuff. So they said to me, I was in the unbranded car, can you come down to the station, pick everyone up, because I've been at Rock FM, and, you know, pick one of the reporters up, and go and report on it. So I said, yeah. And just as I got to Nick here, stopped at the petrol station, and because I was flustered and I was relatively new, I put the wrong petrol and I put petrol in it instead of diesel. And then I drove off after I filled it up and that, and then I realised what I'd done as the car conked out. So I had to run to Key, and I got in this smart car, and it had branding on it, but nothing radio. It was like sponsored by football thing or whatever. So anyway, we went to Pendleton, round that roundabout, you know, in the middle of Pendleton. There was an upside down news van that had been burnt out. There was all people rioting in the streets and throwing bricks and all that. And as we drove me in the report, I can see everyone stops and looked at us, and I can see they were trying to work out, was this smart car a news car? What was it? Do you know what I mean? 'Cause they were all like looking like that. And I remember we got around this roundabout, and the girl I was with, Michelle Ponting, was like, I don't feel safe here. Do you want to get off? And I was shitting it. And I was like, it's up to you if you want to go. I mean, I'm not bothered. I was like, please, God, get us out of here. So we went down to Deansgate. We drove down to Deansgate, and she was doing voices and stuff. And I remember we was on Deansgate, and a big gang came, like about 200 people, whatever. And I said to her, like, Michelle, whatever you do, just stay calm, like, don't run off. Michelle? And she'd gone. She just ran. And then they all came, and like they weren't beating people up or anything. They were just looking for somewhere like you mate with these rice.
Yeah.
They're just looking for things.
It was just
fingers on, weren't
there was nothing to do really.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I had an argument with Terry Christian on Twitter over it because he was like really slagging off.
Not like him to argue, and it's certainly not like you to argue. So I can imagine that was
and it was just basically saying that the youth for today and all this sort of stuff. I said, did you forget where you're from and all this? And it was going back and forth. I think I had like writer on my bio at the time. He goes, what do you know about being working class anyway? I went, grouping alongside you, dickhead. Do you know what I mean?
No disrespect to alongside, because that's the last place I'd slag off, but that's as working class as you can get.
I know, yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
He just got on his arse. But I remember my mate, I'll not mention his name, but he'd gone round for to meet his future in-laws for the first time. Like, he'd never met his new girlfriend's parents at the time. Right. And it was all kicking off, and they were I think they lived in Broughton at the time. That's Salford way, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And so they're all round the dinner table. The dad's like, I think he was like a Labour councillor, not an MP, but he was like really staunch sort of Labour. Yeah. Used to work in the mines and stuff. And he's like, they should all be locked up and stuff like that. And my mate's just going like, he looked like a right laugh if I was young. If I went here tonight, I'd have been right down. His girlfriend's gone like, he goes, what?
That's the way to make a good impression with the in-laws. Look like a right laugh, get involved in that. Can you remember them riots? You'd only been little, wasn't you?
I was in France on holiday. I remember watching it all on the telly.
Yeah, it was mad, wasn't it? Because it just spiralled, didn't it?
But I thought the response was bizarre. It was like, oh, bring back national service. You should, make sure all these young people are paying for it. But it's like we've said before. Thatcher had that approach to crime, and this sort of short, sharp shock approach doesn't actually solve the reasons why people do that in the first place. It just gives them a label as a criminal and just leads them to doing more crime. It doesn't actually solve the problems.
Well, getting back to solving the problems, do you think the Glazers going will solve the problem at United?
Nice segue. My main thing with this new owner, whoever it may be, is just don't do anything stupid like getting rid of Eric Ten Hag. Because some owners come in, don't they?
Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm the new owner now. First thing, I'm going to do is, sort of get my dick out and wave it about and get rid of the manager and bring someone else in. We don't need that. I like Eric Ten Hag. I think he's doing a very good job and I believe in what he's doing. And I think new owners should come in and back him. Back Ten Hag. We don't need a change of manager. We've got the best manager we can have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's the best manager in the world. I'm saying he's the best manager we could realistically have or get. So back him. Do you know what I mean? And I think Eric Ten Hag, with the proper backing, will bring success to Manchester United. The thing that's been holding us back has been, obviously, the ownership and the structure has been terrible. And we've had maybe a couple of managers who were past the best or weren't up to it. I think with Eric Ten Hag, we've got a manager who is up to it. And I think if he gets the right backing, he'll win us trophies. I really believe that. And this is the one thing that, probably the biggest thing that worries me about new owners coming in, because we've seen it so many times at clubs. They come in and what they'll do, some owners, they'll just be waiting. They'll be waiting for that time, that opportunity for the manager to lose like 3 games or whatever.
Any excuse.
Yeah, and then...
Did Mark Hughes have that, Man City?
Yeah, I think Mark Hughes drew like 4 games on the spin, didn't he? Do you remember?
Yeah.
And then he sacked him and brought in Mancini. Todd Burley at Chelsea, as you pointed out, he was waiting. Him and Tuchel obviously didn't get on. Tuchel's star had dimmed a little bit, after the season they just had. I know he won the Champions League in his first season, but he was still a good manager.
Yeah.
But then, as soon as the results weren't going, sack him and appoint someone pretty quickly as well to get fans. But I just don't want to see that. I'd be fuming if you got rid of Ten Hag. I really would.
No, I completely agree with you. I think in terms of managers that United could have, he's the only one, post-Ferguson. Everybody else sort of is on the decline, whereas Ten Hag's sort of star was ascending, really.
Yeah.
When
they'd all been like, they'd all lost jobs recently, haven't they? Like, other than like, Moyes was never up to it, never won anything.
No, but Van Gaal,
who's 20 years, probably past his best. Jose had been sacked at Chelsea.
I disagree with Van Gaal because he just taken the Netherlands to the semi-final of a World Cup. His stake was pretty high.
No, but he was not. He'd
already signed for United before that.
Yeah, but he wasn't. He was 20 years past his best, Van Gaal. Easily.
Because before the Netherlands manager, wasn't it? Yeah, is it AZ?
Alkmaar. Won the league with Alkmaar, though, which was a pretty good achievement.
But, like, his best was 1995 to 97.
Yeah. And
he'd been sacked, like, 3 times since then.
Yeah, every Bayern Munich.
He was definitely in decline. And, like, he got to a semi-final World Cup, was good, but I don't think Van Gaal in 2014 was anywhere near the levels in 1997 Van Gaal. And the proof was in what we watched.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Right, I understand that, but United politically had to go for someone with a lot of experience.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he was in decline. He wasn't a manager who was on the rise.
Ten Hag's
the first manager we've had.
Yeah.
Who's, like you saying, on the rise.
Yeah.
Is it not even at his peak yet, I think.
He's similar
like
to
Jose Van Gaal.
Yeah.
Were good managers who still had a lot to offer. Van Gaal won the FA Cup, Jose won the League Cup and Europa League. But they weren't at their prime or progressive managers. They were sort of behind the times.
Do you not see similarities with what's happening at United now to Liverpool when they went with Gillette and Hicks? Do you know what I'm saying? Because where United are now in terms of football positions and been on the decline for a good 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And then under Gillette and Hicks, it fell off massively, and then they got a new investment with the FSG, was it, that came in,
yeah.
And and backed the new manager. Ten Hag, in terms of his star ascending, reminds me very much of Jurgen Klopp at Dortmund. That's the sort of stock level he was at when he come to United. So it'd be ludicrous because I can't see too many. I can't see too many other managers out there if they were of the mind that
There was a time, people forget this and they want to deny it, but there was a time when Jurgen Klopp struggled a bit. I remember when we drew with him, was it in October 2000?
His last season was terrible, wasn't it, at Dortmund?
Yeah, and then he had a spell at Liverpool where I think they'd gone like 8 games without a win or whatever. We drew with him 0-0. And I remember chatting to mates, he was a Liverpool fan, he was calling people that stuck up for Klopp, Kloppologists, he was saying. He's not up to the job and all that. And obviously they stuck with him and they believed in him and he's come good. And this is one thing that's like worries me if you get new owners in. If Ten Hag was to have a sticky patch, because it happens, don't it, with all managers, would they go?
It totally depends. I think if it was Jim Ratcliffe, he'd understand it. I'd like to think he'd understand it a bit more, but maybe that's me being a bit too idealistic.
This is the thing about, and this is why it's important that we get football people running the club, because that's why United have struggled under the Glazers, not so much because of the investment. And I know it's not been their money, but you can't say we've not spent any money. It's just been spent ridiculously bad. You know what I mean? When you look at the strikers,
like 10 or something, we've spent as much as City.
Or
whatever it is. I can't remember 12.
And yeah,
I know they spent a lot more before that, but you know,
still,
we wasted a lot of money.
Yeah, you expect to see some sort of return on your investment for that amount of money, you know. And yeah, we look at strikers, and Ronaldo was just a long line of failures, wasn't he? Up front, Ibrahimovic, Cavani, Sanchez, Falcao, and that's your number 9. Do you know what I mean? Igalo again. So
there's been a lot of mismanagement, and it's not like the two mutually exclusive. You can have, you know, we've spent a lot of money, wasted a lot of money, and have bad owners.
Yeah,
which is what I think we've had. I just like to say, you know, you mentioned Jim Ratcliffe, and he seems to be the preferred choice for everyone because he seems to like the interviews he's given when he spoke about football. He obviously understands football. There's that thing of at least he's been at United and he is a United fan.
Do you buy into it? And I know it said the reports came out today that he's going to make a bid. And I think it'd have to be part of a consortium if he did any sort of financial, you know, if he wanted to get up towards City and the top European club levels again. But I'm not too sure whether he's the right man for the job, to be honest.
Of the ones that have been suggested, I think he's probably the preferred ones.
What's he done at Nice, though? Because Nice are 10th in the French league, aren't they? So if you know what I mean? If he's already owning a football club, he's not thrown anything behind that. Now, are we to believe that because he's by Manchester United and it's a club that he's supported, that he's going to be a little bit more reckless with his money? Put more of it in?
At the Chelsea thing, wasn't part of the Chelsea sort of bid was a commitment to spend money on it.
Yeah,
on the team,
but that's because Abramovich really. I like for Abramovich, for all his faults. And obviously, I'm not a Chelsea fan. He had a real passion and love for that club, and I think when he sold it, that was part of the deal.
Well, there's that thing with Ken Bates as well. Ken Bates did that clever thing, didn't he? Where he sold, was it Stamford Bridge into into little small parts, 1,000 parts. So there's 1,000 people that own Stamford Bridge, and if you're going to buy Chelsea, you have to get the approval of all them and commit to spending money. There was some,
I like that.
I had Kieran Maguire on from The Price of Football on Trevor Paddock who explained it a lot better than I have. But basically, that he said that even though Ken Bates is hardly a shining example of a fantastic chairman, that was one very, very clever thing that he did.
That is good
because then you have to have those people on board, as you can't do what you can't do a takeover. So there was a commitment there, or presumably there'd been a commitment there from Jim Ratcliffe to spend some money. Anyone who comes to United is going to have to at least do something towards the ground and the.
It's a lot more than the $6 billion.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just going to buy. You're going to be buying something that's going to end up just carrying on declining. So you're not going to get your money back. I'd like to think if he's coming in for the right reasons. I get the Nice argument, but when he was going into Chelsea, he said the right things. He was presumably committing to the right things. I just think you look at Jim Ratcliffe and compare him to who else has been suggested. And I think he's probably the best.
It's important to say that Jim Ratcliffe made his billions from petrochemicals, and environmentally he's not perfect at all, and his company is not ethical in a lot of ways. But there's that, which is, I'm not saying is good at all. I think it's pretty reprehensible how he's made his money. But there's that, and then there's using United to cover up human rights abuses and being used for sports washing, which is a whole another level beyond like a bit of a dodgy businessman.
That's what I mean. It's not comparable to me, or the same.
No, but I mean...
It is comparable, it's not the same to go... I'm not saying you're saying that, but, someone who's made the money and obviously has some questionable business practices, I would say, is completely different to someone who's basically killing people.
Who's this, though, that you're talking about?
I don't want to lump everyone together, but let's say, for example, we had a sovereign state.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because I think it's easy to go, or any of the Gulf states, well, they're not all the same, are they? And also, individuals from a state doesn't mean they're that state.
No.
I'm saying if you had a sovereign state, a government, like similar to the situation, similar to City, or what I think, even though they've tried to make it look like it isn't, the Saudis at Newcastle, that would be, for me, the wrong route to go down.
There was a rumour about Dubai.
I wouldn't want to see United going down that route. Whereas if it was an individual from that state, I'd have to look at it and wait and see what the situation was, because that is slightly different. I don't think you can just go like, oh, anyone from that state, that's a bad thing, or they're all guilty of it, because you don't know how. You'd have to look at it on a sort of case-by-case basis. But if it was a sports washing enterprise, I wouldn't be into that.
No.
I wouldn't, and I could stomach Jim Ratcliffe. Of course I could. Okay, he's not perfect, but show me a perfect billionaire. I'll show you a unicorn.
Yeah, but I mean, and the other things have been touted are consortiums over from America. I've heard a lot of rumours of that for a few months before this was even announced this week. So then I think today Apple's been announced that could be interested. Of one's Facebook and
Kieran was saying he felt that Facebook was more likely.
Can you imagine that? Zuckerberg.
Isn't that just Murdoch trying to buy United again, but in 2022, basically?
Well, his name's been mentioned again as well, Murdoch.
I don't know. I mean, the point, I didn't even think of Facebook until I keep going back to it because Kieran Maguire from The Price of Football is literally a football finance expert. He was saying Facebook do buy companies and do buy businesses. They bought, like, is it Instagram and WhatsApp and stuff like that. He said Apple don't tend, I know they bought Beats and stuff, but they don't tend to do that sort of thing as much as Facebook do. So he said he was the one that sort of suggested Facebook to me at the time. I'd never even thought that. Yeah. He said he could see that happening. Not saying it will happen. He said he could see it. He didn't think the Apple thing was real. Really? And when I looked at it and I seen it, it's come from the Star.
I think
they broke the story.
I get my news from Twitter.
Oh, right, okay. Good luck with that.
Hi, bro.
I think it was the Star that broke the story. I know it's been reported elsewhere, but when I clicked on links, it all led back to that story in the Star. So I don't know how accurate that is. Yeah, I wouldn't say that I think that the Star is usually the paper that breaks.
Yeah, of course. Well, the thing is, United are the biggest name in football, so if Chelsea had 200 people interested in buying them, United have got every single billionaire on the planet who, regardless of their business interest, would be,
Is there a line for you, for either of you, where you go, if that owner came in, I wouldn't have anything to do with it?
I mean, I'm probably similar to you in the sort of the morals and the ethics, and I'd hate United to turn into like Man City with the sort of sport washing thing, and what would Manchester be then? It'd just be like, what we turn the Middle East and bring the Middle East to the Northwest and that sort of fight, and then I'd have to go through Twitter and delete so many of my tweets that I've been like a Man City for over the last sort of.
Well, that's it. I don't know if I could. I'd be so hypocritical. Do you know what I mean? If United was sports washing now, and it's different now because I get to watch Mbappe and Neymar, so I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised
I wouldn't judge you, Jay.
If Facebook actually were allowed to buy United, I think the government might just block it. I don't think they'd allow it to have that much control, similar to Murdoch.
No, well, there's a different argument, isn't there, with Murdoch owning it? Well, at the time was because it would have been monopolised because he owned the Premier League coverage, didn't it? So obviously there was an obvious bias there. How does that? I don't see how that works with Facebook buying United.
I don't know. I mean, I literally didn't even think this was an option until this morning, and then Kieran was like, he said Netflix as well. He said, you don't know. No. He said you look at these companies and you might think that never happened. And he said it could, but again, there's going to be hundreds in there probably. If Chelsea had, the only difference with Chelsea was the sense of urgency as well, because they had to sell rather quickly because of the Abramovich thing. United haven't, so this is probably going to go on for months.
Kieran Maguire said next summer, didn't he?
Yeah, he read by next summer, and he said there'll be an auction. He said it'll be based on the highest bidder sort of thing, which you expect, yeah.
You mean the Glazers won't sell to a responsible owner?
No, this is it. They won't just go, what's your plan for Manchester United? Oh, they sound really positive and good. Yeah, you want to help the team get to the levels they used to be at. Yeah, you will sell to you, even though we're not going to make as much money if we sell to this guy over here. They're just going to take money off whoever, aren't they? They're not going to be asked
They're not going to sell it back to the fans,
long-term plan. They're just going to be like, just go for it. Sorry, what were you saying?
They're not going to sell it back to the fans, are they? I know people have been talking about 50+1, but... Who's
said that?
Well, in terms of, and people have been saying, who do you want to buy United? I'm not saying there's been any concrete sort of rumours about it, but there's the whole Must fan share scheme, and they've said, look, we need to be involved with this. But I think especially within United's fan base, we know how well and how divided it can become very quickly. So I think the interesting thing is, even 1958, the new supporters group that's been set up, I've seen loads of backlash towards them because the banner they had that said, United for sale. All the old school 2005 lot have said, well, the whole message behind that was not for sale, and you're putting a banner up saying for sale to a billionaire who you don't know what his interests are.
There's no happy, sort of shiny, fluffy.
Concentrate on now.
They're going. Answer. The thing is, they're going. We've got Elon Musk on now. That's a bit tongue in cheek because someone was tweeting him a few months ago, and he said because he tweeted something about buying United or Man U as he calls it. But he said he was joking, which is probably for the best.
Yeah, consider his bloody Twitter into a tragedy in 4 weeks.
Dramas. There's more dramas that I can't be doing with all that stuff. It is good the Glazers are going. You should enjoy it. You're right, because it pisses me off when people are saying, oh, don't get excited and look at that. But we've been waiting for this 17 years, so you can get excited. It's just, how much of it do you think was influenced, if any, by Ronaldo leaving? Because
Absolutely
that's a story that I keep seeing around on Twitter. You get your news off Twitter. You must have seen that.
I did. I disagreed with all of them. In fact, fuck you, Glazers, for actually bringing me out of my social media hiatus. My phone was going off. I better get back on.
You left me with egg on my face because you was on Good Morning Britain and I didn't tag you because I thought you was off social media. And then 2 seconds later, me dad had tagged you in something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, bollocks. But then by that time, I'd already tweeted and a few people had liked it, so I just left it.
It's cool, man. Yeah. So they dragged me out my social media hiatus and stuff. But Ronaldo, I don't think it's got anything to do with him in the slightest because it takes months to put this sort of deal together. I think I was mentioning it. Me and Joe were talking about yesterday on Stretford Paddock. Like, it's not like Ronaldo's did that interview and then Glazers got on the phone like, sell it!
Yeah.
You know, it just wasn't, that just can't have happened.
Do you think it influenced the timing of the announcement at all? Because that's the only one where I go, I agree with what you're saying, by the way. But I do think for it to come out 5:30 and 9:30, official, is quite, wow. 4 hours.
Yeah. But what I mean is that I think the Super League dictated that Glazers weren't going to stay at Manchester United for long.
I forgot about that. I mentioned that on the live I did the other day.
That for me was always the sort of the fork in the road for the Glazers once that, and that's why I'm adamant that the fans that protested, the ones that might be facing jail sentences, get congratulated for what they did because that deviated them in a different path. If they stay on the Super League path, then they were well into making a mint, weren't they, on TV rights and stuff. But I think that was the road where we are now, and that set it off. But the timing, I think it was planned, wasn't it? Because it didn't mean like when it's got rid of Ronaldo, it was within 3 hours. It was all, nobody was talking about it. Nobody was talking about the World Cup.
No.
The following day, Pep Guardiola signed a 2-year contract. Tumbleweed, no one cared. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like nobody cared at all. And if anyone disagrees that Manchester United aren't the best club in the world, and that was evidence to it, wasn't it?
What was Madeley like? Have you interacted with him before or not?
Who, sorry?
Madeley.
It was all right, actually. Out of the two of them, Susanna Reid was a little bit more bitey than Madeley. He was always saying, like, oh, they've not done well at the club and stuff. He's a red, isn't he, though, Richard?
Is it?
Yeah, he's a red Richard Madeley. I'm pretty sure.
My missus, when she was a kid, he stitched her up as well because they went out this morning, her and my mother-in-law, and they met Boyzone. And this is like, it's proper This Morning tackle, whatever it was back then. And then he asked, like, who's your favourite Boyzone, and who's your least favourite? And then she said, and then no Boyzone came out. And my mother-in-law posted it once on Facebook, the video of this, like, and my missus, she was about 12 at the time, and it's hilarious, but I think they deleted the video. I think my missus like, get rid of that. Yeah. Because it's cringe, but it's weird with Bailey. I don't know, I can never work him out.
I think he knows a lot of the time what he's doing. Do you reckon? I think so, yeah.
Because some of the things he say anger me. Other things he says just amuse me. He's a bit partridge, but then he can be a little bit, I don't know.
What wasn't he sort of quite close with Tony Wilson as well? So isn't that sort of annoying thing within him that he's trying to do just to piss people off for the sake of it?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, being like a contrarian for the sake of it. Yeah, and he does it in a little bit more friendly way than a sort of Piers Morgan.
Do you know what? I'll never forget. You remember the Shamima Begum thing where they was debating whether, obviously this is the girl that joined ISIS, and they were debating whether she should be allowed back into Britain. And the way he said it as well, he went, I was just thinking, after World War II, they prosecuted the Nazis. They didn't prosecute the Hitler Youth. You can see Susanna Reid, whoever it was, sat next to you just going, please make this stop. Yeah. Like, what? And it was the way he just drops it. Like, I'm just thinking of this now. Thinking out loud.
He's very good at, there's no filter on him. Whatever's going through his mind's coming out.
Yeah, and it was like, what? Yeah. Are we going down this route, really? Quick, go to a commercial. So, yeah, I can't wait. He's one of the few people, I've got an opinion on everyone, mate, I have. But him, I don't know. It depends what day you ask me.
Yeah, he seemed all right.
He was good on Have I Got News for You the other week.
I didn't see that.
He said a couple of things I didn't agree with, but I thought he was all right. The one with Gary Neville?
Yeah.
Gary Neville was getting loads of grief because of the hypocrisy.
But I didn't like that in a way because I thought, who's the private editor now? Ian Hislop,
yeah.
I think Ian Hislop has a vendetta against footballers because they're working class, and I think he was looking more for an excuse to have a go at Neville for that rather than actually human rights.
I don't know, do you not think, I thought he was pretty accurate.
I thought it was as well. But I disagree with that, James. I don't think he's got a fucking thing against the working class. That's a big bold reach, isn't it?
Do you not think what he said? Because I think, like, for me, and I think this is why it's got a little bit conflated, I don't think necessarily working at the World Cup is the same as working for the World Cup. And isn't Gary Neville doing stuff for someone?
He's doing
stuff for being.
And being owned by the Qatari government.
Yeah.
Because that's because I saw this with Roy Keane, he called it out, and someone said, well, you hypocrite, because you're working there. And I think, if you work, I know it's different, right? I get it's different, yeah? But if you work in a war zone or whatever, you're not contributing to that war zone. You know what I mean? I know it's a different thing, but my point is, just by working at somewhere doesn't mean you're working for it. Roy Keane isn't working for the Qataris.
No.
And when he was calling it out, he was just calling it out as someone who's working in that country.
The thing is, if Roy Keane doesn't go, right? If Roy Keane doesn't go, he doesn't make that statement on TV.
That's what I mean. Alex Scott got the same. People were saying about Alex Scott, because I thought Alex Scott's speech was fantastic about him.
Alex Scott does a protest at home. She's not there.
She's not on the telly.
Doesn't get the reach.
Yeah.
Right. So there's also that to look at, is if they are going over there and they are actually making a statement within the within the country. Right. Yeah. But Gary Lineker's been getting loads of shots fired at him as well, hasn't he? In terms
Steve Howson's mate at the minute, and he's hanging out. Pulling out all the big guns there. Steve.
What is your take on it being in Qatar then?
I think I watched that FIFA documentary, so I'm now a fully fledged expert on the entire history of FIFA.
Okay. I watched about 40 minutes of it.
Well, you're an expert. That's all you need. Just, you know what I mean? Watch it on fast forward, and you'll get the gist. I think it's a bad idea for a multitude of reasons. I'm not against taking it to different countries, obviously in different regions. I was there in South Africa when South Africa had it, and it was a fantastic experience. But I think for so many problems with it in terms of the human rights record, the people that have died making the stadiums, the fact that they said they were going to welcome different, members of the LGBTQ community, that's not really happened. The stadiums are half empty. Do you know what I mean? It's almost untenable for a lot of people to get there, to afford it. Do you know what I mean? It's a bad idea. It shouldn't have been there. Yeah. And if you look at it, America, and I know the USA had it in '94, they bid at the same time. That would have been a much better place to have the World Cup, for a host of reasons.
But this is a place where certain states it's illegal to have an abortion. Would we have been doing the same sort of kick-off? Because there's an argument, isn't it, that people are saying that we're criticising because it's the Middle East rather than, like, there's a lot of Western countries that have, I think we were saying it off camera before, we're guilty of certain things. And I think
Russia invaded Crimea, didn't they? And they had the World Cup.
Russia's a prime example.
I get that, but I just think that
not everyone.
I don't think 6,500 people would have died building stadiums in America.
No, I agree with you.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think. Yes, you're right. Some states are a bit backwards.
But they didn't die before they were given the World Cup, though, did they? Like they died after they were given the World Cup.
That's what I mean.
Well, that's what I mean. See, they can't not give them because they preempted like 6,500.
No, but I think we're sat here now looking at it going, I think it's been a terrible idea.
But there's also,
the promises they made. Did they do the due diligence looking at that? How's this going to work?
The carbon neutral thing is just absolute bollocks.
Yeah, that was never going to make any sense.
Yeah.
We're going to do this and it's going to be carbon neutral, I'm going to do that. And you can't get there without flying loads of planes over there. That doesn't make any sense. How are you going to build all these stadiums in such a short space of time? I'm not saying, I get your point. I don't think anyone went, well, this is going to cost us 6,500 people.
Yeah.
But you must have thought this is a bit unlikely this is going to work. I thought it was a bad idea. There's obviously, if you look, and I know I'm not, I was joking about being an expert off that documentary, but there was obviously shady stuff that went on.
I agree with you.
Because loads of the people off that executive committee have now either been banned from taking part in football. I think some of them have been locked up, and they've all, I think all but, I don't know, James, you might know, all but about 4 of them are off it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing as well, because it's one member, one vote.
Yeah.
The system. That's why England will never get a World Cup. That's because the way that it works. Allegedly, they bought a lot of votes off other countries, and there's that whole pact as well with like Jack Warner, who is the president of CONCACAF, which is the
Caribbean.
Yeah.
So and the Caribbean has as much say as anyone because you've got all these little islands with different football associations. So there was the American guy who's dead now, Chuck Blazer, who he went whistleblower and admitted they were just taking backhanders. So.
Well, look at the England vote in 2018. I think they got 1 vote, which was themselves.
Yeah, that was corrupt. Go on.
Well, just like going back to it being a cultural war, though. So, like, the Qatar have got it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not, like, in agreement with many of the stuff that they believe over there in terms of discrimination against sexuality or how the migrant workers have been treated. But I do see a lot of people who are from Qatar or the Middle East that kick back and say it's... this is our culture over here. Do you think that there should be are we in part how we live over here on other places in the world? Do you know what I mean? That's how they believe. So if you've got a World Cup, should you not be accepting? You shouldn't go over and judge how other people live.
I think there's limits to that, though. I think, you know...
I'm being devil's advocate here.
No. Saying things like, you can't drink, right, fine. And it's not just because they don't drink. I think I get it. They don't drink over there or whatever. That's fine. But then he's saying... You're telling everyone you can drink, and then when you get there, you're saying, actually, you can't.
Yeah.
Also, the whole, we don't welcome people from that, if you're gay or from that community, is wrong. And that wasn't what was said. That was, I watched the interview. We are going to be accepting. And you get over there now, you can't even wear a fucking rainbow T-shirt.
So it's the fact,
you lied.
So it's the fact that they said they answered all the questions how they wanted to be answered.
They just sold, you know, everyone a cracker, didn't they? Said, oh, you know, don't worry about it, be all right. And then, actually, no, you can't do that. We're not going to do that. Remember when they started, they said it was going to be in the summer.
Yeah.
They were going to have air conditioning everywhere. It'd be in the summer, not even have to move the World Cup. And then they went, actually, now we've got it. We are going to move it to winter. So there's been all this sort of just, you know, disingenuous stuff going on. And I don't think you can say, and I get your point, right, in some, you know, states or whatever, in America, they might have draconian laws, whatever, but there's a lot of difference to that and also the entire nation or everywhere where this World Cup is held, just saying, we don't want people who aren't straight or whatever, who are from the LGBTQ community. I think it's just wrong, and that isn't what the World Cup should be about. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's parts of South Africa where they had issues. There's parts of Russia obviously got issues. But, and I'm not saying Russia was a particularly good example. I don't think that, you know, should have had the World Cup in all honesty. But I think this is taking it a step further. And I think all these different reasons, half-empty stadiums, people not being able to go, you know, people that are going just having the pants pulled down with awful accommodation that's just not fit for purpose and paying loads of money for it. Members of certain communities not even being allowed to go. You're not even that. You can't even go and show your support for that community. So, you know...
Well, the thing is with the England armband, that was such a subtle gesture. It wasn't even like an open thing. It was just like the thing that pissed me off about it to begin with was, well, it's just an armband basically that just says one love on it. It's not even a statement. And then that was a non-issue. And then they made it a much bigger thing by saying you can't wear that. If the England players wore that, that would have been a non-story because it was such a vague thing.
That's what I mean.
No, I agree with you. But
and I know you're playing devil's advocate.
Do you not think that that's FIFA's fault then as well as it is the Qataris? Because FIFA...
I agree. I think this is all FIFA's fault.
Yeah.
I think FIFA are probably more to blame than the Qataris.
What did you make of Gianni Infantino's...
Well, he's a complete dickhead, isn't he?
Did you not think he was being like Bob Geldof up there when he was doing this? I feel like a migrant worker. I am
gay.
I am gay.
No, and I think, you know what? I keep going on about it because she's like, you know, but she nailed it, Alex Scott. When she's like, you're not gay. Like, you're not a Qatari migrant worker. You're not a migrant worker, sorry. You know, you'll never know what it's like to be a migrant worker. She basically said, you're talking fucking bollocks. And she was bang on.
What did you think about his quote when, because he went on for a long time, didn't he?
Was it an hour or something?
Yeah, and usually there were like 15 minutes, them speeches.
Was he pissed?
I'm not too... No, I don't think so.
What? I'd say something else, right? Yeah. About his fucking World Cup. If you don't like it, you can fuck off. Right, I just shut up. I'm just not finished.
Given he was in Qatar and alcohol's banned, I'm pretty sure he might.
Up.
Yeah, it might have been on the bing.
I presume that's banned as well. Yeah.
But when he was saying stuff about how Europe could learn a lot of lessons, we've got 3,500 years of like.
Right.
That's like
I get it. Yeah,
we've done wrong. Yeah, as well.
I'm not. You know, I'm the last person that's going to say, you know, Britain or Europe in particular, especially Britain, has got a great history when it comes to certain things we've done across the world. But that doesn't mean that justifies what's going on here now with this World Cup. That's just like we were talking off camera before. It's like the whole all lives matter argument or blue lives matter argument. Whenever you say black people need to stop getting treated like shit by the police, well, all lives matter. That's not the discussion we're having. We're having a discussion now about this because this has happened.
And it's a distraction technique as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's like...
Well, I tell you what, every country's got their issues. Yeah, but the World Cup's not being held in every country. It's being held here
the World
right
Cup's
now.
Not being held in the 1066.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And if you have a conversation about Britain and what we've done over here, I'll have that conversation with you all day long. But right now, we're talking about Qatar because it's where the fucking World Cup is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like why are we talking about Qatar? Why are you picking on the fucking World Cup's there and FIFA gave it him? Do you know what I mean? So that's why we're having this conversation. And he just went out there and basically poured a load of petrol on the fire to put it out.
Yeah,
just made it worse. Do you know what I mean? So
why was nobody checking that speech? Do you know, like there's no way
he's got a PA
and gone like, I've written this.
Has he done a Chappelle on Saturday Night Live? Here's my script, and then just gone, actually, I'm going to say this. Because, I mean, also, who's telling him what he can do? Because he's saying something basically in defence of the World Cup. So the organisers of that are going to say anything to him? Anyone from FIFA, he's like the head of FIFA, are they going to say anything to him? Yeah, I mean, it takes a special kind of fucking knobhead to make
it's proper Kendall Roy, that, isn't it?
Yeah, a good shout, from Succession. You've not seen Succession?
No.
Yeah, it is. It's one of them. It's like, you know what? He's fucking had a load of sniff and gone on a tangent. And someone needs to turn his mic off. They did. Someone needed to turn his mic off and wrestle him to the ground and just drag him out. Because it was just, I only watched a bit of it and what I saw was awful. So yeah, I just feel like it's a shame because the football's been quite entertaining. You know, we see the 7-0, was it? Costa Rica, Spain. Today we saw a good game between Portugal and Ghana. England was a great game.
Saudi Arabia beating Argentina.
You know, there's been, I know there's been a few 0-0s, but the football... But you've had this constant thing going on, and I don't want to belittle it by saying constant thing. Right, you know, this like James was saying there, even little things like the love thing in the back of the Belgian top. We're not going to do that. You're not going to wear it. You can't wear that. You know, there's people who can't. James was talking about before about a guy who had a rainbow on his flag from his state or his country. He weren't allowed in the stadium. I mean, that's taking it a bit further than just what you know.
Would you hope? Well, okay, so that they're not being allowed to do them things. Would you hope more from the sort of England team and Gareth Southgate then? Because if you seen like Germany were protesting, weren't they? And didn't get their hand over the mouth.
Just, when I saw that announcement that we were going to wear the rainbow armband, I think I said at the time it's just performative nonsense. That it's almost like the bare minimum. That
but and then to not do it,
made it worse. It's like when you say, I think I said it to you the other day on a podcast or Philip Maxwell. It's like, what's the least we can do? And they found the least they can do, and then somehow found something less than that.
Yeah.
To not even do that. And I think, do you know what? And I'm mentioning a lot of commentators who are out there who I agree with, but I agree with what like Ian Wright and Roy Keane was saying. Take the fucking bucket. That's a statement.
Yeah.
If everyone were right,
that's what I said. That's the worst thing. A yellow card.
You know what I mean? Don't say we're going to stand up for gay rights or for the rights of these oppressed people because we care, and then go, actually we might get yellow cards. I'm not going to do it now.
So where do you think that decision's come from then?
From the FA?
Is it the FA that have told them? I know FIFA have said they can't do it, or they will be like.
I think it would have been the
reprimanded.
FA, but do you not think that Gareth Southgate and the players could have said, "Fuck it, we're doing it"?
Yeah, of course they could.
They're running the show.
But that's what I mean. So you've got how many players? 20 players is it over there in England? Why one of them couldn't do it?
Yeah,
sneak it on and then just have the arm.
Well, no, just take the fucking. Do you know what? I know it sounds daft, but even if you fucking let someone be captain and do it.
Yeah.
If Harry Kane's like, don't know about this one. Right, all right, fucking...
Just make
Aaron Ramsdale's coming on for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
he's leading us out, and then
yeah.
he's getting a booking and he's fucking getting sub for Jordan Pickford.
But does that not surprise you, though, with the FA? Because the way that the Anton Ferdinand case was handled, the way that before as well with the chairman the other year that made that racist comment that had to be sacked, there's such a backwards organisation in that way. You know, I think...
Do you know what, as well? If I'm a player, right, and Roy Keane, again, I keep mentioning it, but he said, you get a challenge as a player, you fight against it, right? That would have been an opportunity for me. If I'm Harry Kane or whoever, or if I'm Virgil van Dijk in the Holland team or whoever it is with some of the other teams, it's Gareth Bale, Wales, because there was 7 of them that said they were going to do it.
Yeah.
I'd be thinking, you know what? I could be a fucking hero here now, you know? Like, seriously. I could be like, you know, one of those guys that people talk about.
You're all on the likes like Colin Kaepernick or Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, man, like taking a stand and all I'm doing, and all I've got to do for this is get a yellow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, those guys, like Muhammad Ali didn't fight for 3.5 years. Kaepernick lost a fucking what? They reckon he lost about $100 million or whatever. Like, those guys lost a lot. You're getting a yellow card.
The Olympics as well,
wasn't it? The Olympics, 1968. You know, you're getting a yellow card and you'd be out. Everyone would be like, you'd be a fucking hero.
I know, yeah. Even ego as well.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is that if England were to go out or, you know, wasn't going to go through the group, then I can imagine, you know, they'll all be fighting over that arm. But
do you reckon they'll do it? Do you reckon they'll do it in the final group game?
Maybe not the final. Maybe not the final group game. Or maybe someone.
No, if you're going out, would you not think, fuck it, I'll take the yellow?
Yeah, but you know what I'd do? Like, say you're, I don't know, who's gone that's very unlikely going to play? Is it Wilson? Is Wilson there?
Callum Wilson.
Callum Wilson.
Maybe I'd say maybe one of the goalkeepers.
All right, so say the goalkeeper gets injured in training.
Yeah.
Right. Fucking ship him in. No, hobbling around and then just.
You're only wasting a sub. You've got 5.
The thing is that the problem we've got here is the Gareth Southgate team and there's no creativity. On that note.
James, what did you make of it all? Just quickly.
like I said, I think it's performative activism. Really, it doesn't really. I mean, I think, like I said, that the armband would have been the bare minimum, but I think the Germany players showed how it was done. Really, that's actually proving a point. Exactly, but it's a small thing.
Yeah.
But they've actually stood up to it by doing that.
But no one knew they were going to do that, did they?
I love that.
I always think protests are best when you give people notice.
I always think protests are best when you give people notice. There's no sacrifice involved. They don't inconvenience anyone, and it doesn't affect anyone in any way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a real. And what I loved about it afterwards as well, where like Harry Kane was saying, "Well, we wanted to do it."
Yeah.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted, but we weren't allowed.
That's like Martin Luther King.
I think that's pretty much what. Yeah, you know.
I wanted to dream.
I wanted to dream, but I was told not allowed in that.
I was told I couldn't sit down on that bus seat, so I didn't.
Yeah, Rosa Parks just said I was going to sit in front of the bus, but they said you can't, so I just went to the back. But I wanted to sit in front.
Yeah.
I would have, but I weren't allowed.
Oh, I would have protested.
I'll tell you what. Hey.
I would have glued myself to a motorway, but a caller on LBC said I was silly, so I didn't do it.
Yeah. Get them lot in. Hey, get them lot in England squad. They're out there.
Extinction of throwing tomato soup.
Who's that guy? I tell you, got stitched up talking to people go to jail, draconian sentences. The guy that tied himself to the Goodison Park.
The Just Oil guy?
Yeah.
What did he get?
He got 6 months. Come on.
You know.
Give him a fucking bit of community service, slap on the wrist, and let the poor lad go on his way.
I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Maybe we'll talk about that on the next podcast.
Yeah, right, let's do that.
I quite like chatting climate change and the end of the world. I've been Scott. Listen, if you're out there watching, which you must be because you listen to me talk, press, that's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
In
camera there. You've got to use this one. Yeah, go on.
James is fucking right. Like, press, subscribe.
Oh, yeah. The Patreon, we've got a Patreon.
We've got Patreon. And Patreon as well, the link will be in the chat because James Young's going to do that now. Yeah, please subscribe and like. But thank you, everyone who's been watching. We've not done a live tonight. We're probably not going to do a live for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, just
while the World Cup's on at the same time. But we have got some special guests coming very, very soon, actually. Multiple. One's a musician out of one of Manchester's best bands. And another one is an actor out of a film called This Is England. So until that note, Scotty.
The actor one. Well, both of them, but the actor one, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. Anyway, go on.
Scotty.
Marty.
And we'll see you soon.
Oh, Youngie.
Oh, yeah.
Youngie.
Oh, Youngie made a grunt there in the corner, didn't he? We can never sign off without you getting involved. Has he turned it off now? Have you done it?